that left 53 people dead. The U.S. has charged Hamas's leader Yahya Sinwar and several other prominent figures in the Palestinian group in connection with its deadly attack in Israel on October 7 last year. The Justice Department said it was indicting 6 Hamas members with 7 charges, including the murder of dozens of U.S. citizens, conspiracy to finance terrorism, and use of weapons of mass destruction. The criminal complaint covers decades of alleged attacks by Hamas, as well as last October's unprecedented assault. In sports, with the exit of Christiana Alabi, Abiola Adeshokbe, and Kayode Alabi from the table tennis event of the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, Team Nigeria's medal hope now rests on Isao Ogunkule against Frenchman Maxime Thomas in the men's class 4 quarterfinals. 3 Nigerian players exited the medal race as the country continues to struggle in the event in Paris. Newcastle United left back Jamal Lewis has joined Brazilian side Sao Paulo on loan until the end of June next year, with an option to make the move permanent. The Premier League club made this known. Born in Luton, England, the 26-year-old Northern Ireland international becomes the first British player to play for Sao Paulo. Victor Osimhen has ended his long transfer saga after joining Turkish side Galatasaray on a 4-month loan deal from Napoli as the 6th Nigerian to wear the Kimbom jersey. Osimhen's transfer and his eventual departure from Italy were one of the most talked about during the summer window, having requested to leave Napoli despite penning a new contract in December 2023. Interim Super Eagles coach Austin Eguavion has expressed optimism as the camp bubbles with 20 players ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against the Republic of Benin and Rwanda. The 3-time Africa champions are set to face the Cheetahs on September 7 before facing the Amavubi on the road 3 days later. And that's it on the Global AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Thanks for still stay with us on the program Global Morning. We are now to continue on the papers and the headlines we had. The concern and issues still very bordering on the state of the nations, the outcry of many Nigerians is respect to what NMPC, the recent increase of the pump price. So we'd like to take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. On the Punch newspaper, we still have a petrol scarcity. NMPCL bars the independent marketers amid the surging prices. Nigeria economic has stagnated. We also have Shetima inaugurate $115 million with Africa Container Terminal upgrade in Rivers. Nigeria's economy has stagnated. That's coming from Bill Gates on page 29. NEC fears poor harvest as flooding kills 205. You can find that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. State police NEC to brainstorm on 32 state report. PDP shift NWC meeting over Governor's weakest tension. That's on page 29. Abure reject OT's 29-piece panel. That's on page 28. Nigeria police will torture, kill me if I surrender. That is from the wanted Britain on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Harms importation. Federal government declares emergency in other parts on page 19. A couple of reactions right there. But let's get to Abia State. Yesterday, the governor, Alex Otti, had convened a meeting, stakeholders meeting of the Labour Party in a bid to try to resolve some of the internal crises of the party. And it looks that Abure, the supposed exited chairman by now, is insisting that it's illegal for Governor Alex Otti to convene a meeting of that order. And that, I mean, he's not even an organ of the organ of the party. All of these issues is still back and forth. He's putting Peter Obi right now at the spot where Nigerians are saying, you can't lead your party. How about the fact that he wanted to lead the country? So it's a two-way issue. I mean, how do we begin to resolve the issue in Labour Party, understanding the fact that when you look at the major political parties, Labour Party also can have a space and a seat, recalling what happened in the last 2023 election.
Mr. Mike, my take on the feud in Labour Party is let Labour Party organs be considerate with Nigerians. Where we are today is not where we should be embracing conflicts from a kind of party called Labour that is a developing party in the Nigerian polity. We're already having issues with the present government. And everybody is gearing towards the fact that if this government continues until 2027, then they could be edged out through constitutional means. Parties coming together to make sure they show the current government where they are supposed to be. When feuds begin to emanate from a party that so many people look forward to, like Labour, I don't think it is good for the Nigerian polity. Both Abure and Otti and Peter Obi, let them come together and have a round table discussion. Feud, conflict from that party will not be good enough for us. Abure coming to say that Otti does not have the constitutional right to organize a committee to do things otherwise, that is not an organ of the party. And Otti saying, I am the leader of the party, being in the governorship position, I'm the leader of the party. I wish to advise them that we should drop all those syndicates and look forward to seeing how Nigeria can be bettered through the avenue of Labour Party. That is my take on the matter.
A whole lot of couple of other headlines. When we look at the fact that NNPC is still very drag. Let's look at Dangote Refinery. Many people were rejoicing as at day before yesterday that the fact that Dangote Refinery says, our products are ready. We are ready to even hit the street. But we are waiting for NNPC, we are waiting for the Federal Executive Council, to really determine how much we are to sell. So it looks that we shouldn't completely rejoice over it because in a way it's not the independence of the market where Nigerians were looking at for the fact that Dangote is coming. It means that those who have the money, the marketers who have the money can go buy the product and then sell for Nigerians even at a lesser price than what we are having now. We are seeing how we can get a way out of this situation. Do you feel that Dangote Refinery is for good or right now due to the fact that they are waiting for the Federal Executive Council meeting to determine how much you have to sell? It means that they are taking us backward.
Mr. Mike, what I have been saying is what I keep saying. All depends on the federal system, the federal government system, what the federal government wants. It depends on the vision of the federal government. Dangote should be given free hand to operate so that Nigerians can be bettered. Yes, of course, Dangote has a refinery. In the first instance, they said they won't give him crude. They won't give him crude oil. After a lot of said and done, crude oil has come, but at a limited measure. And now the fuel has been produced. Then in selling, it is still connected to the federal government. For the federal government to determine the price at which he would sell the fuel, no problem about that. If they are honest with what they want to do. But where I have an eyebrow is, why should it be the NNPC that should be the sole off-taker of the product? It is still connected to the federal government. My own take is, let the federal government fix the price. But let independent marketers as well as NNPC be allowed to be off-takers from Dangote's product. That is where I stay.
A couple of reactions. Queen, we're trying to look at what should be the resolving, approach to some of this concern about fuel. And we are wondering if we are now having to rely completely on 1,000 naira for a product. Are you not really bothered about what is ahead of many Nigerians right now? Because it's really sad.
Yes, I'm bothered about the fate of Nigerians, just as Prof has stated. And, earlier when we were talking about the resultant effect of this continuous hiking, fuel price or pump price, what would happen? And Prof was saying, Doc was saying that we should get ready to build
centers.
Yes, more psychiatric hospitals. But we pray we don't get to that.
Because it's really is the mental problem. It's a mental crisis right now. Yeah. Many people, you wake up in the day are trying to queue. Another sad issue is that it's not even available. The product is not even available.
Yes, Mike, that is what surprises me.
Even at that price.
The federal government, you agreed with Labour not to touch the fuel price. You went and touched the fuel price. The citizens are saying, okay, no problem. Even when you touch the fuel price, let the fuel be available for us. The price is high and it is not available. What is really wrong with the system of the federal government? I have never seen this since I was born. I have never seen this since I was born. The present administrative dispensations, the independent marketers, when they were aware that fuel pump price was going to be hiked, they will hold the fuel. Immediately a new price is announced, they release the fuel. People begin to see the fuel to buy. Now you are hiking the pump price, and the product is not available for people to consume. There are three things here. Number one, the price is hiked. Number two, so many people don't have that money to procure the fuel.
So the purchasing power of Nigerians
Yes.
are...
Number three, those who want to buy the fuel, you know, to sacrifice other issues to buy the fuel, they can't get the fuel to buy. Some go to the filling station to spend 5 hours. Some spend 12 hours. Mr. Mike, it's highly ridiculous.
Another issue over the weekend was issue of smuggling. The minister said in order for us to combat that, some persons are taking advantage of the previous price at 618, and that neighboring country, I mean, they are smuggling the product out to our neighboring countries and selling it as high as 1,500 naira. And Nigerians had reacted. Would you rather say that you're trying to blame the irresponsibility of the security agencies on Nigerians and all of that for your own concern? Because it looks that advice by the Minister of State, I think Eneke, who was speaking earlier on that issue, are advising that we should sell the landing cost. And the landing cost right now, we heard, is over 1,100 on the paper this morning. So it therefore means that even the 895 that we are seeing today is not the real price. That the real price based on the landing cost is 1,100. And if NPC have to increase it to 1,100 now, it means that other independent stations will start selling theirs at 1,500 and all of that. So do you feel that the advice of smuggling is, should rather be one of the factors why we cannot really have the product? Because they said why we are having insufficiency of the product is that people are taking out the product that is already in our stock.
They are not, the federal government is not sincere. They are not sincere with Nigerians. If they are smuggling the product out of the country, where are the security agents?
It looks irresponsibility of the
irresponsibility and the alakadasakal. They are nonchalant. They are just there. The police alone, without even involving the military, if they are combat ready, if they are all out for job duty, they can combat this imbroglio. If they are smuggling the fuel out of the country, who will you blame? You have the security. You have the drones to see them. Who do you blame? Who do you blame? Mr. Mike, I advise the government to sit up. Let them stop punishing the citizens. They are punishing the citizens. Why do you recruit the police to do what? Why are the military there? To do what? And under your broad, under your nose, you see people smuggling, and you are aware that they are smuggling. They say, okay, because of the smuggling effect, let's remove the subsidy. Let's remove the subsidy. It's unheard of. You can't come and tell us such a cock and bull story. I term it cock and bull story. Nigerians look forward to the federal government for good governance and for responsible government.
All right, there's a reaction. Bill Gates is in the country. Yesterday, he had a meeting and also warns of the rising misery. Says Nigeria spend less per capita on its people. That is captured on the Guardian paper. There's been a concern, IMF's recommendation that some of these policies that are being introduced by the government are probably masterminded by World Bank, IMF, and all of that. So right now, Bill Gates is saying, it is really a mystery for the rising cost of living of the country right now. Do you feel that those international organizations, because some person will say, they do not protect our interests, but in the other end, they are the ones giving the loan, they are the ones giving the grant and all of that. So do you feel that they are the real enemies of this country?
Big time.
So how about the loan
The
that we get from them?
international communities are the enemies of this country big time. And our president is in China for a bilateral talk with the Chinese government over business deal. Chinese will never enter into a business that there will be no profit for the country. As a matter of fact, the IMF, controlled by the United States of America, whether you like it or not, they are the world power. You know, after their intervention on the Western Europe in around 1945, and the Europeans, they saw America as their defense, so to say, as their lord, so to say. From there, America started creating institutions like the USAID, like UN, and several other things, and IMF, from where they could enslave as many nations as they can. It's a trap lock for several nations that cannot put themselves together. Several nations that mean well for their citizens. They don't go near the IMF. And we Nigerians, our solace is not in IMF. Our solace is in ourselves. We come together. This country is rich enough for us to bank on and stay independent. So, in my language, they say, "Owo kin yehura ni jualo." Mr. Mike, it is the hand that goes to the hole that the serpent will bite. It's the hand. If I and you go hunting and we begin to dig, and as we are doing it, and you put your hand into the hole and there is a snake there, it is your own hand that the snake will bite. It is not my own hand. So what I encourage or I advise the leaders of this country to do is to look inward and stop looking outward. If we look inward and we reshape ourselves, our integrity, we can do well. Getting into IMF is putting our heads into the guillotine and bringing more impoverishment into this country.
So our problem is local, so
Yes.
they should find local solutions to some of the problem. All right, prisoners. Federal government reviews prisoners' feeding allowance by 50%, raises budget to 45 billion naira. It seems it's a good news for the prisoners. In the other end, how effective and how are these well implemented? Because you look at some prisoners who probably, those who have probably been there probably will tell you, it's never a good place. The feeding that is on the paper is not what is really right there at the correctional center. It's a concern.
Particularly the states of these correctional centers. Most of these correctional centers need to be refurbished. And time again, we've seen funds allocated for their welfare. But those who are in there who've had that experience will come out and say otherwise. What do you make of this move?
Now 45 billion increase.
Mr. Mike, have we finished talking about we that are free before talking about those who are in bondage? And, looking in that direction, I need to bring our mind to this also. Are Nigerians honest? When we talk in terms of the correctional centers that we have across the country, those who are in the correctional centers, are they all justifiably there? If what I used to listen to is correct, about half of the inmates are there innocently. If about half of the inmates are there innocently, then the federal government has a job to do to make sure she revitalizes our judicial system to make sure that those who get to the correctional centers are not people that are merely victimized and taken there, but they are people that are really supposed to be there, that go there. Like I was just getting the news yesterday of a 14-year-old boy, Gray, by name, in Atlanta, Georgia, who went to a school and shot about 4 people dead, 2 teachers, 2 students. He has been arraigned in court and will be charged with life jail or death penalty. If people like that are the people that are getting to the correctional center, I wouldn't support the federal government to increase their welfare. No. Let them suffer. But if people who are there are innocent, why not?
Like these end bad governance protesters,
yes,
they probably are the ones
yes,
who thought
why not?
They were wrongly put.
Let them be there until their salvation comes.
But no, our concern is about the budget. Our concern is about 45 billion is a whooping amount of money that probably would have been invested in infrastructure or things that will get this country out of where we are. And now they were saying, is it right that it's been allocated to where we know that it is not rightly invested in?
Mr. Mike, it's as if you don't know what Nigeria is all about. If road construction would cost 2 billion naira, they will inflate it to 7 billion.
So these are now room of investment, in all indications.
Yes. So that the officials can see where they will get their own pay from. This amount of money that is being budgeted is not all of them that goes there. You may even be surprised to see that more than half of them, more than half of this budget is mismanaged. So it is not a whole lot of this amount of money that you expect to go there.
All right.
The way I understand Nigeria to be of late.
All right, before we let you go, very lastly, there's a concern and criticism of the 18 years limits for, people who should write JAMB and WAEC in the educational sector. The minister, over this week, it has been a whole lot of back and forth. Nigerians are saying, it's not the priorities right now. We shouldn't go to be talking about restricting people not to write JAMB at the age of 18 and all of that. So, what's your concern about that particular policy? Because it's really getting a lot of reactions right there in the papers as well.
It's absurd. It's really absurd. The federal government goes to areas that don't concern her. For instance, the issue of the national anthem has come. How does this affect the state of living of the people? Now, educational system, barring people from seeking, barring students from seeking university admission, less than 18 years of age. What are you driving at? The best doctor in the world today, Patrick Soon-Shiong, became a medical doctor at the age of 23. He went ahead, made his discoveries, and invented abrazine used for the treatment of lung, breast, and pancreatic cancer. He's the richest doctor in Los Angeles as I talk to you, and among the first 5 top richest doctors in the whole world. The Indian American Bala Murari Abati became a medical doctor, an ophthalmologist at the age of 18. At the age of 18. What do you think of that? And just very recently, we got a Nigerian young girl in Chicago, Dorothy Jean Tillman, who graduated as a PhD holder at the age of 17. She secured the admission to the university admission at the age of 10. And she did well. My question, Mr. Mike, is, are you proud of that girl? Dorothy Jane Tillman, that has graduated as a PhD holder at the age of 17, is a pride to Nigerians. We celebrate her. Why are you now coming to bar somebody from acquiring university admission under the age of 18? And so, are you now trying to tell us that the extraordinary promotion that we used to enjoy before should no longer be there? All brains are not equal. When you get a child that gets to a particular class and the child begins to perform extraordinarily well, you say you should stay and not go forward. That policy is absurd. This child can handle a gun. A 14-year-old child is among the terrorists in the bush. And that child would go to the university and say, no, stay behind. It is an avenue for these terrorist activities to continue. My take on the matter, let everybody move according to his or her pace. When a child is of university age and the brain can agree with what the university curriculum can offer, let the child continue to go on. And finally, on that issue, the federal government is not sincere. It is a bid to create more gap between the rich and the poor. If they are sincere, then let them make Nigerian education compulsory for everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, both rich and the poor. Let nobody take his child abroad to go and school. Because all these people that are up there, since they know that this is the policy, when their children are 15 years old and they get out of this, they take them abroad to go and school. And since this policy does not bar them abroad, they will be going to school there. Let the federal government also polish the policy such that right from now, if you are a Nigerian and your child does not school in Nigeria, then that child does not have anything to do with Nigeria. If they do that, then we will now know that they are honest with this policy.
Elder Bartholomew Ebajanu, he's the head Volunteer Refugee Foundation Worldwide. Thanks so much, Elder, for joining us on the program this morning. Your insights have been well articulated. We deeply appreciate your presence this morning.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy for being your guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And of course, our next point of discussion will be the issues of disability. I recall there have been several reforms and acts by the National Assembly to accommodate persons with disability. But for how far is this going? And concerns about how we can also, in the use of this hardship, be of help for these persons with disability. We'll be looking at that issue very shortly after this break. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
The societal inclusion is a responsibility of all, and that's the essence why there are several laws to be able to accommodate persons with disabilities in the country. But for how far has this law really been to the country in terms of implementation, in terms of follow-up, and we've seen some level of irresponsibilities on our part and the society as well. So we'll try to establish what are the concerns we may really have about persons with disabilities and the concerns they're having about inclusion. How far can we really say Nigeria, based on the United Nations recommendations, have been able to track on some of these implementation? Joining us this morning is Dr. Chris Nware. He is the member of United Nations ECOSOC Consultative Status and the founder of Lotus Initiative for the Blind. Thanks so much, Doctor, for joining us this morning on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I understand you're also a member of the Federal Republic as an ambassador. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
I would love to get your situation report in terms of how inclusion, how can you describe the societal inclusions of persons with disabilities so far in Nigeria?
Number one, I have to start by thanking the president, former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, for signing our bill into law, making it an act in 2018 to ensure the inclusion of persons with disability. And by the special grace of God, people have been working very hard. And after the sign of the law, making it an act, they went to the extent of establishing a commission called National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. And the various states of the Federation have done their own part, ensuring that they have state commissions for persons with disabilities. And from the grassroots, many things is going on. Many things are going on. But all the same, laws is needed to be done to ensure the inclusion of persons with disabilities in Nigeria.
I mean, I'm really bothered about this current concern in the country, the hardship really confronting the country right now. We've seen the recent hike in fuel, and if we have people who probably, probably privileged people who are going about their normal responsibility and coping, still struggling to cope on this economy basis. What is your assessment of and the impact this has really created on the lives of the persons with disabilities in Nigeria?
We are the most vulnerable group in the country and in the world. Though in the Western world, they have gone ahead of us by making sure that the rights and privileges of people with disabilities are taken care of, and legislations provided so many things to make life easier for them. But in Nigeria today, the current hardship being faced because of the increase in fuel price and all that is affecting my community, people with disabilities, so much. You can see that it has not been easy for normal people, those who we call able-bodied people, let alone those who are disabled. Most of them, they don't have jobs. Some of them, they find it difficult to move about in the society. It becomes so difficult for them to live. Take for instance, someone who doesn't have a job. And even those who have jobs, the money they receive is not enough. If somebody on wheelchair needed somebody to assist him move about. Somebody who is hearing impaired needed an interpreter, to assist him when he goes to hospital and other places to communicate with the people or the masses. But unfortunately, the hardship in the country today is affecting us and is biting too hard on people with disabilities. And I'm appealing to the government of the present administration to see what they can do to ameliorate these challenges that people with disabilities are passing through. And if that is done, I think it will be a plus to them, especially on the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President, of trying to include everybody in the scheme of things. People with disabilities are the most vulnerable, and they have to do something urgently to help us.
Okay, Doc, talking about challenges, what are the most common barriers, both societal and physical, that people with disabilities face in achieving full inclusion?
The challenges we are facing is enormous. Take, for instance, physical barriers. Public buildings are not accessible for people with disabilities. It's a very serious issue. Another challenges we are having, when you get to some public buildings, we don't have ramps, we don't have elevators for those on wheelchairs. In the airports, it becomes very difficult for those on wheelchairs to navigate and enter the aircraft. So it becomes a very difficult thing for people. Sometimes in Nigeria here, they will ask you, who is assisting you when you go to the airport? So it's a very difficult thing. But in the Western world, like most of us who have traveled far and wide, they give you all the attention to assist you navigate and do your deals. But in Nigeria here, it's a very difficult thing. The public buildings are not accessible. The public transportation is not accessible for people with disabilities, those on wheelchair. You go to the bus stops or bus stations, you find it difficult for this the drivers. They refuse to take care of those on wheelchairs. They'll tell you no. Their vehicle cannot accommodate you because of your wheelchair. So you now ask yourself, the Nigeria that belongs to all of us, does it mean that Nigerian government, they don't think about you? Does it mean that the society don't remember that people like us exist? So it is a serious barrier. Academically, in the family, you see sometimes people with disabilities, their families abandon them. They don't care about them. They feel, what can this person offer? instead of giving them the opportunity, equal opportunity, inclusiveness. We are talking about inclusivity to go to school like any other person. That will enable them, do things themselves, live an independent life, acquire education. Most of them are very intelligent. As I'm talking to you, if you give them equal opportunity to go to school, they'll be able to excel. If not for the sake that I attended and went to school, I wouldn't have been useful to myself. I wouldn't have been useful to the community. I wouldn't have been useful to the country and the global world which I represent today as a member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So the barriers are enormous. Give them scholarship, they will excel. Families of people with disabilities, sometimes they hide them. They don't allow them to come out. They said their intention is that let's train these people who have eyes, who have hands, who they call normal. We are all differently able in one way or the other, like us. We do things that you cannot do. I can read my things through Braille. You can't read that. You can read your own, printed materials. I may not read it. So you are able in your own part. I'm able in my own part. So people on wheelchairs and others, those who have hearing impairment, they have sign languages. So give us free accessibility, inclusiveness. We'll be able to achieve our greatness. So it is a serious barrier we are facing in Nigeria today.
Doc, as a member of the consultative UN committee, have you been able to, advocate and also, become better allies for people with disabilities?
That is why the federal government of Nigeria admitted me to go into this position, which was keenly contested. At the end of the day, I came out victorious in the last election. That was in June 11, 2024. I now become a member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Nigeria and globally. So my intention is to see how we can assist our people through advocacy, through implementation of the laws, the Disability Act of 2018. We need to make sure that the implementation is done. As we are monitoring the activities in other parts of the world, Nigeria, where I come from, we make sure that we will monitor it the same way to ensure that people with disabilities are given the level playing ground. We are talking about health services, provision of health services. Health insurance should be provided for persons with disabilities. It should be free for them, especially those who doesn't have a job. So education should be provided for them to go to school. There should be accessibility. There should be technology provided. Some of them who are employed in various areas, who have opportunities of securing jobs, federal jobs, state jobs, local government and organizational jobs, should be given assistive technology to enable them work. If you give them, provide these things for them, they'll be able to do greater things. So, but if peradventure these are not given, it becomes a very difficult. So my role as a member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is to ensure all inclusiveness, is to ensure that their rights and privileges are protected, is to ensure the implementation of the policies and laws in various countries of the world, including Nigeria, where I come from.
Thank you, Prof. Now, in particular about you, and I'm inspired by how far you have come and what it is you are doing now. But in this part of the world, where people with disability feel, left out and may not even know how to go about being, in the professional settings, being involved, being engaged. What advice would you give to people with disability? How do they begin to, or how can we even tell families and communities to engage people with disabilities, and how, they can, step forward, how they can be involved?
Yes, I have so many NGOs, which non-for-profit NGOs which have been using to reach out to the people with disabilities in Nigeria. I have Lotus Initiative for the Blind, which was established long ago. In 2012, it was registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and in 2017, we have United Nations ECOSOC consultative status that enables us to participate in all the programs of the United Nations. And I have National Disability Empowerment Forum, which I'm the chairman and CEO, equally like a lot of Lotus. I have Rivers of Hope humanitarian initiatives. So through these organizations and the NGOs which I manage, I use them to reach out to the families. I use them to reach out to the people with disabilities. I use them to ensure that families with disability, people living with disability, should be allowed to come out and assist them as they are assisting other children of yours. Remember that these people, they need help. They need to work. They need to live. You know, through donation too, I've done a lot through advocacy, sensitization. I offer scholarship to many of them, you know, because when they go to school, it will enable them, you know, excel and live independently. For instance, myself, I have contributed immensely to the national development of Nigeria. I've brought in so many investors in Nigeria. I don't have sight. I'm legally blind. But we don't live in a country to the government alone to cater for. But because I was privileged to go to school both in Nigeria and abroad, I acquired lots of knowledge and experience. I've been able to access technologies provided to me by American governments, and I want to see it replicate here in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. So if people with disabilities are given opportunities, just like I've said, and I have been doing it, you know, in the past, and I'm still doing it up till now. We do empowerment programs, you know, skill acquisition program where we train them in various skills. So if they are trained in various skills, some of them who are not educable can be trained on maybe to become mechanics, you know, repair things and telephones and all that. So do a lot of things, block molding, you know, fashion designing, and so on and so forth. These people will become useful to themselves. I will train them equally in ICT. So these are the things that our people can do if they are given opportunity. So I have been doing this, and I've been advocating strongly, not only here, globally. When I was the acting head of mission in India for 4 years, I did my best equally to extend that gesture to the people of India. And at the end of my stay in India, I was given a national award by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the present Prime Minister, stayed there up till now. So these are the things we do, both globally and otherwise, and right here in Nigeria. And for work from the grassroots to educate these people. Don't allow people to pity you. Don't allow people to sympathize with you, but support these people. They will do a lot. They will do exploits. If not that I was privileged to go to school, I wouldn't have done what I'm doing today. I wouldn't have been elected to that position. I work in the ministry as a foreign service officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I believe strongly that I've never been, you know, treated as a second fiddle. And because of what I have done in the, you know, in my career, I have grown through the rank and file of the ministry and have gotten to the level of being an ambassador. So I'm equally begging the society and calling on people with disabilities, please don't relent. Don't allow people to sympathize with you. Make adequate use of what you have. Contact us anytime. We are available to assist you. And government too should do their best to make this for people useful.
Yeah, because I was quite coming to that concern, issues of government responsibility, because when you mentioned United States, mentioned India and all of those countries, there are a whole lot of acceptance in terms of technology that I've really gotten to appreciate. We're looking forward to see Nigeria that probably will get to appreciate technology at the full time, and in terms of dispensation, in terms of you know, digitalizations of some of our responsibilities in government agencies, ministries and parastatals, just to be able to also get to assist people who doesn't have this capacity to probably do what other privileged persons can. I've understand that. I've also read that where, I mean, one of them said, I mean, do not sympathize with us. We only need your encouragement. We only need your support. And do you feel that in terms of support, in terms of what government should put in place so as to, you know, help persons with disability actualize their full dreams? Because I've also been able to interact with some of them who probably have good and sound and intelligence, just as you mentioned. But the environment is not, to some of them, conducive enough for them to explore, for them to also tap into their full potential. What do you feel should first be a point of call in respect to this?
The government have a lot to do. There should be good policies disability-friendly policies.
Do we still need policies? Are the policies already we have already are they not enough, or is the implementation of those policies we do have?
The policies are there, but implementation of those policies becomes equally a problem. Just for instance, Disability Acts, talks about discrimination against people with disabilities, talks about inclusiveness, talks about accessibility, talks about so many things, and the scholarship and all that. But up to today, the implementation is a problem. So equally, we need to have disability-friendly policies to help these people and ensure the implementation. And it is the role of National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, the NGOs, the CSOs, to engage the government to ensure that these things are done. And the people with disabilities equally have a role to play. We have to remember that we don't have to relent on the government, don't have to relent on the people to sympathize with us, but we need support, we need encouragement. So every hands must be on deck to ensure that people with disabilities are included in the scheme of things. So both people with disabilities, NGOs, organizations, school-spirited individuals, churches, mosques and all that have to come together to ensure that people with disabilities are given their rightful place in the scheme of things in the country.
Taking us back to education, because you said you schooled here and then you had the privilege of schooling here in Nigeria and schooling abroad. I understand that when we speak with people with disabilities, some of the concerns are around adequate facilities and equipment for persons with disabilities to be able to learn properly. How would you access schooling for persons with disability, and what would you advise moving forward?
I know it is a very serious challenge, this providing them the facilities, what we call assistive technology. It's expensive, and that is where we are calling on government to intervene. That's where we are calling on good-spirited individuals to intervene. In Nigeria, training a person with disability is too expensive. Like, for instance, as I mentioned, there's a gadget, a technology we use, we call SARA-C, or what we call Omni Reader. Omni Reader is a machine that people who are legally blind uses to read their documents. Getting this is over $5,000. So how many families can afford $5,000 to buy this equipment? With SARA-C have documents, over 10,000 books are documented into SARA-C. So you have access to read and connect to the Library of Congress, which is one of the biggest libraries in the world. So you connect to that and read and have access. We need just for Windows screen readers for those who are blind. For those who are physically challenged, they need wheelchairs, motorized wheelchairs. And there are specialized equipment today that they can use, some of them who are into sports. I don't know if you have heard about Oscar Postorico, the South African guy, whose two legs were amputated, and an athlete, so a well-known athlete. So because these facilities were provided for him, he was able to, he's doing very well, and he did well and become a champion. So what we're saying in essence is that give us this technology, allow us to access them. Governments should subsidize the prices or possibly provide them freely for these persons. They'll be able to do more. That's one facility technology we call All-Cam My Eye. All-Cam My Eye is one of the latest technology available for the blind. This All-Cam My Eye, if you use it, it talks to you. You'll be able to identify people. You'll be able to observe objects in front of you. It's able to tell you the color of somebody in front of you. It's able to tell you there's a barrier in front of you. It's able to tell you that you're approaching a glass door. It tells you there's somebody standing in front of you, man or woman. It will describe it to you. If you meet the person the second time, you'll be able to know. So these things are there. That's what we are asking the government to see how we can engage and provide these things, make it accessible for people with disabilities. In our United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities for 2025, our target is to talk about technology. Technology, technology, technology. If this technology is provided, it will reduce the sufferings and pains being encountered by people with disabilities in the world, especially in Nigeria. So we are ready to, do our best, contribute meaningfully towards our development, independent living, national development, and to our various families, if given the opportunity, equal rights.
There is a recent move by the federal government to limit, students below 18 years from having admission into Nigeria's tertiary institutions, writing JAMB, WAEC, and all of that. Do you feel that this may also be a barrier for persons with disability, understanding that sometimes they have probably they get admission sometimes late, and all of those concerns that may be coming from their end. Do you feel that this is a barrier for persons with disabilities?
Yes, it's a barrier to some extent. It's a barrier because some of us who have challenge from birth, we started going to school earlier enough. But some other people who met their challenge along the way, in the course of struggling, going about to get solution or struggle to our challenge, it takes some of us late to go to school. So, but I'm appealing to the federal government of Nigeria to consider that most of us goes to school late, especially those who made this challenge along the way. So the cost of trying to get, to find out what happens to them. So government should be, reasonable to have, special concession for persons with disabilities to enable them, match up, alongside with others in Nigeria. So if that is done, it will be a level playing ground for everyone.
Okay, Prof. How can families and caregivers, support the advocacy of persons with disabilities, in their respective homes?
And do you think families are doing enough? Because when you look at in other countries, the caregivers and the families, and there's some level of support that comes from that
families and communities
and all of that.
The family have a serious role. That's their number one people, the caregivers, the family number one, that have a serious role to, assist people with disabilities, accommodate them, give them the opportunity to go to school alongside with other of their family members, such as siblings. So the issue in Nigeria is that families they hide them. I'll give you an example about myself. When I lost my sight in the university, I was in year 3 when I lost my sight.
Oh, it wasn't from birth?
No, it wasn't from birth. I was seeing, I do all my things, I run around, I jump, I was secretary, I was SUG member. I do a lot of things in the school, run around, and one day I lost my sight. So when it happened, I didn't relax. And so bedtime, there was something that happens to me, I was traumatized, and I found it difficult to come out and let people know that I am blind. I felt so bad about the whole show. When people come to the house, I will run into the room and hide. So, but later I don't ask myself, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this to myself? It has happened, it has happened, it has come, it has come. What do I do? I have to come out. I have to come out strong, ask questions, and I was able to find out there's a place people who are blind can go to school. So families or people with disabilities should be in the front burner of ensuring that these people should be supported. Don't give opportunity to those of your children who have eyes and legs to go to school. Consider these people. Don't hide them. Don't be ashamed of them. Sometimes families will be taking them from one spiritual house to the other, one prayer house to the other. The time you will concentrate, pray. God answers prayers is good. But all the same, don't continue looking for somebody who have done this. If it's someone who did it or whatever, in the third world countries like Nigeria and the other parts of Africa where we come from, anything that happens, we accuse demons, we accuse grandfathers, grandmothers, neighbors as being part of our challenge. That is the time we should face our challenge and know that if God doesn't allow it to happen, it won't happen. So mine happened. People told me stories. Go to this place, go to this place. I refused to go. I know that I prayed seriously, I asked God to intervene, but when help did not come, today The issue of challenge, the issue of barrier, the issue of discrimination I mentioned about being blind does not happen to me because I have equally contributed meaningfully to myself and to my family, to the country and the world at large.
It's interesting to know that, interesting and appalling at the same time to know that this didn't happen from birth. It just happened when you were in the university. But permit me to just dig deep a little. When this happened, were there signs? Did you have signs that did you have blurry visions, or did it happen all of a sudden? And then we know that people. I was in a seminar a few weeks ago, and one of the guest speakers was saying that we are all an accident away from being disabled, and so we have to be particular about how we treat disabled people and disability inclusion as well. So when this happens, and there are a lot of people who did not have these disabilities from birth and may not even know how to cope or how to begin to adjust, have lifestyle changes. How do they, begin to adjust their lifestyle when this happens? What do they do moving forward? What's the first thing they need to have at the back of their minds?
It happened some years ago when I was in the university, third year, just like I've said in the course of my discussion with you. I was in the class. All of a sudden, a shadow-like object covers my vision. I couldn't see anymore. I thought it was a joke. I did everything within my reach. I shouted. My friend who sat near me said, Chris, what's happening? I told him I don't know. I wasn't seeing again. I couldn't see anymore. So because it was a sunny day, I thought maybe when I wash my face and all that, my eye will come back. And my friend, managed me at the end of the day. And when I came out of the place, went back to my hostel, washed my face several times. Nothing happened. The next day, I came out and started looking for a solution on how to survive as a blind person.
So there were no signs?
There was no sign of any sort. I don't have any eye problem. There was no blood sites.
So there are many cases like that where people, just incidentally happen to be victim of this.
It happens, and in the course of trying to get medical solution, they call it phakic. They call it idiopathic, which means cause not known. One of the diagnoses. Another one call it drop in vision. Another one call it retinal detachment. Another one called it different names. But this doesn't happen just like that. There may be either an accident or a very serious thing that happened that can lead to one sudden loss of sight. But in my own case, it wasn't like that. Efforts were made, went to many hospitals within Nigeria. My family sold everything they have to see if I can get my sight back. But it happened and it came, and I accepted it. So my prayer and advice to others is that when these things happen, don't just throw in the towel. Continue working hard, continue to pray, and don't allow people to be deceiving you. Someone came to me, a friend of mine, and told me, Chris, there's a place you will go. Once you go there, the person will pray for you. I will not mention the person's name. He called himself a pastor, that he will invoke somebody's eye to mine, and I'll start seeing, and mine will go to the person's eyes. I now ask him, what have this person done to me that warrants that I should allow his own eye to come to me? The person is still alive today. So, and today, I think I'm living a good life. I thank God for everything.
Absolutely. I mean, you're a big source of encouragement. For those probably who may be having a situation like that. I mean, not just about sympathetic about the issue, but the encouragement of the fact that you can definitely achieve your dreams. You've definitely living your dreams right there. We'll try as much as possible to see how these messages, and of course, can be able to also touch other people's lives, because we understand that it has happened, and we must begin to see how you can live with it in the society. I understand the responsibility of government. We understand the responsibility of the people. Sometimes some of those infrastructures we have in the countries are not in any way built to also accommodate persons with disability, which has also been a sad one. We've seen the recent one at a restaurant in airport. I think there was a controversy about that, where people were insisting that, you ought not to, all of that. So can we really say that the hardship in the country have also, averted people from showing some help, encouragement, and all of that in the country? Or do we really say that Nigerians are not accommodating enough?
Nigerian government, they are doing our best.
I mean Nigerians. Let's concentrate on us.
Yes.
What we can do, to help each other in the society right now.
Nigerians need more advocacy, needs more information about disability. In most cases, just like I've said before, they see it as an omen. Sometimes they say it's your sin. That is why you are blind. I was in a place somewhere, sometime people there, they don't know I was blind, that I'm a blind person. And in the course of, some people came in begging, a woman, they said, don't give them anything, don't give them anything. It's because of what they did, that's why they are blind. The society is, at the end of the day, I called the woman, Madam, do you know I'm blind? Why do you say this? Do you think because you are seeing, it's because you are not a sinner, you're a good person? So she was ashamed of herself. People there descended on her and started blabbing and saying all sorts of things against her. So the society needs to be informed. They need to understand that anything can happen to anybody at any time. We need to support these people. We need to encourage them. We need to remember that they are human beings. So it's not the issue of discrimination. It happens. Even recently, my state honored me by inviting me for a homecoming after winning the election. When I was in the airport to move to my state, I'm from Abia State. So during the course of my travel in the airport, the air hostess asked me, how are you traveling? You can't travel alone. I told them that I've been to many countries of the world, and I've been treated fairly when I travel. So why must I have this discrimination in the country where I belong? So these are the things and challenges we are talking about. So Nigerians should remember that people with disabilities are human beings. You should treat them well. It might be your turn tomorrow. We are not praying that people should be disabled. We are not praying that people should have challenges, but we have our own challenges in various ways. Becoming aging is equally part of a disability. There'll be a time you might not see clearly, you must use glasses to see. There must be a time you might not walk freely, you need an elevator or ramp to walk. There'll be a time that you need hearing aid, not because you have a challenge, but because of age. So some of these sensitive organs might not work very well. So we need to realize that it could be your turn tomorrow. Remember these people as system. Public places should be friendly with people with disabilities. Transportations and all that, just like I said, the public transportation system is unfriendly with people with disabilities in Nigeria. Very much unfriendly. In Europe, in America, when it's a person in wheelchair, when you get to the bus, there's something like ramp comes down. You roll in your wheelchair, it takes you up to your seat, takes you to where you're going. When you get there, it comes down. You roll down your wheelchair and move on to where you're going. So these are the things that we are asking, that these things should be available, and Nigerians should equally be sensitive to people with disabilities and be friendly with them.
Doc, moving on, how do you see the future for persons with disability, looking at the trends, particularly now with technological advancements, first for Nigeria and then globally?
There's a big hope for people with disabilities in the world, especially in Nigeria. If we put the right people in the right positions, they will do a lot of things to better the lot of persons with disabilities. Take, for instance, if not for the sake of technology, I wouldn't have gone to school. If not for the sake of technology, I wouldn't have been able to have access to Good Life and other things that I have done. I have written 13 academic books that are read in various universities in the world.
Wow.
13 academic books. So if I didn't go to school, will I do this? All these things I did as a blind person, not when I was still a young student then when I lost my sight. So we are talking about this technology. We are talking about enabling technology. We are talking about assist technology. So technology have done so much for us. That is why today we can. Like my phone, I have a phone. I have voiceover. I have other screen readers on my computer like JAWS and all that. Those with hearing impairment, there are invisible hearing facility that they use today that you won't know that they have that. So these are the things that makes life easier for people with disabilities. So we are trying to see how we can bring in these things, these facilities, technology in Nigeria. For instance, some of the machines, when I mentioned it to some of our people, they said they've never seen this before, they've not heard of it before. So opportunities are there, but Nigeria should please, bring, when they are making policies, contact some of us who experience, contact those who understands the game. Don't just go there. Sometimes there was a policy that was made some time ago. Not even a single person with disability was there. So what can you, with nothing for us without us, engage us, bring us, invite us, consult us. We will make meaningful contribution to better a lot of persons with disabilities in Nigeria.
And that was Dr. Chris Nwanoro, and a member of the UN ECOSOC Consultative Status 2017 and the founder of Lettuce Initiative for the Blind. We deeply appreciate your time on the program this morning, and of course your insight. Part of this, where we stand for as a media organization, is also to amplify the voices of persons with disability, and that was the excess of having you on the program this morning.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
I was truly inspired, by some of your works, even with the fact being disabled, you were able to accomplish certain things, and I hope that our viewers will, are inspired, greatly inspired.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll go on the break, and once we return from the break, we'll be wrapping up the conversation on the program this morning. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to
We have a whole role to play in respect to building the Nigeria of a dream and the society where everyone really feels inclusion. That was the purpose of that conversation with Dr. Chris. I mean, Chris, Queen, I was really inspired, see how I can actually try to get, because the feelings was, these are persons who are probably, feeling, some level of, oh, I'm not a proper or a complete human. But in one way or the other, they still find themselves, pushing forward. And see someone who really have that deficiency has written up to about, I think you mentioned 17 books. And I think also, also with 2 sites are still been inspired. But in one way or the other, were you really inspired about that?
I was absolutely inspired, Mike. I was inspired that your circumstances, your challenge, sometimes we might attribute whatever it is that we're facing to finance. We keep on giving excuses. I just
learned now that whatever it is stopping us from achieving our goals, achieving our full potentials, reaching our full potentials, fulfilling purpose, and doing the needful excuses. Because what excuse would you say a blind person has? A blind person has a lot of excuses, not having aids, not having support, not having sight, particularly, how integral sight is. And now this person has been able to not just advocate for himself, but advocating for a whole lot of people, gotten to the height of his career, written books, with all of these disabilities, with all of these stumbling blocks, because they're stumbling blocks. And, he has had to adjust to lifestyle changes, certain lifestyle changes, because this disability, he wasn't born with it. This happened when he was an adult, and so he had to adjust and still continue. And you see how far he has gone and what he's doing for the people in the blind community and people with disabilities. And so I am inspired, particularly when he said he has written 17 books. And I'm like, hey, here I am talking about writing 1 book. I have not been able to write 1 book yet.
My major concern is the fact that the hardship in this country right now, if people, able people are confronted with a whole lot of hardship, complaining of hunger and all of that. How about people probably who are disabled? To some extent, might not be able to do all of those things. So my heart really goes out to all of them, because I understand the implications right now of the country, having to struggle to get fuel, having to struggle to, to buy things on the market and all of this concern. So in a way, it's also a clarion call for Nigerians and for all of us to see how we can be, of help to one another in the societies of support. This is a time for love, because when you look at the fact that every time we sit here, we read headlines that are probably disturbing our mental health, headlines that are not in any way showing good light in the country. But we still have to communicate hope. We still have to continue to communicate, assurances to many Nigerians. And for all Nigerians, there's a need to live with love, because the times are hard. Things are definitely hard, and we hope that things will get better. But for how long would we continue to hope? Because since I was born, I was told Nigeria would definitely get better one day, but it looks that every day things keep getting worse. But it's a role that government must begin to tackle some of these issues. And now we are being confronted with the issues of fuel hike. Queen, can't begin to tell, we can't complete that story. It's an imagination, it's a concern that this is the new reality we have to live now, because I don't know for how long we will be able to accommodate this.
True that, because we see how it has pushed a lot of people to the wall. Things that the increase in pump price, fuel price, and the long queues have particularly made Nigerians to react. A lot of people are saying a whole lot of things, talking about, how hard and how much sacrifices they've had to make. I don't know how long this is going to be, but we can only hope for the better, and I hope that things get better, and we don't have to start building psychiatric homes like Reverend Doc mentioned.
For that, but things definitely get better, and of course that's where we'll begin to wrap it up on the program here. Thanks so much for tuning in and staying with us in this journey. I hope you find some much interesting conversation. We always want to hear from you and feedback. Follow us on social media handles at Global TV NG, and also subscribe to a YouTube channel and our social media as well. I'll always catch it up by 7 a.m. where we take the ride on the morning show. Thanks so much for joining our program. I'm looking forward again where we and Jumai takes you on tomorrow for another ride.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from...
I don't think there's really any